So, in this video we will try to see the significance of Nehru report in our national movement. So, the historical aspect, not the constitutional aspect of Nehru report, right. So, we will discuss significance or importance of Nehru report, right, for our national movement. So, Nehru report 1928. Is this okay? So, what is the background of Nehru report? Background is demand of Swaraj, background is demand of responsible government and Simon Commission agitation, and during that Simon Commission agitation there was a challenge, and challenge was to produce agreed constitution, and because of that challenge you will see that nationalists came out, right, with this report, what you call Nehru report. It is fine. So, Nehru report you should always consider in the context of that challenge, and yes, it was the first major attempt to frame, you can say, our own constitution. So, in that sense Nehru report is very relevant, right. Now, what all this Nehru report recommended, right, what all this Nehru report recommended. So, it recommended, right, some you can say some simple point, if you can remember, it recommended what? Dominion status, it recommended what? Responsible government, it recommended responsible government, it recommended linguistic provinces, right. Then it recommended fundamental rights, 19 fundamental rights, right. Then it recommended, right, what you call secular state, and it rejected what? It rejected that separate electorate. So, it rejected separate electorate, it rejected separate electorate, fine. So, Nehru report, right, is very important, like at least 4 or 5 these points you should remember, right. It also recommended what? If you can remember 1 or 2 more: universal voting rights, revolutionary idea, right. It also talked about equal rights for women, fine. But try to understand the significance. 1928 they are recommending these progressive ideas, no doubt about it, progressive ideas, right, fundamental rights, rights for equal rights for women, universal voting rights, but whether all these proposals were in consonance with the, you can say, the spirit of that age, when they recommended secular state, rejected separate electorate, they were what? They were alienating, they were, you can say, creating problem for what you call the Jinnah politics, right, or the Muslim League politics, and therefore Jinnah or the Muslim League not satisfied, and they came out with their own program, 14-point declaration it is popularly called. Those young people, the young nationalists, before this Nehru report 26, 27, before that Hasrat Mohani, they were all demanding Purna Swaraj, but they are demanding what? Dominion status. So, therefore, you will see that young nationalists were also not satisfied, right. So, what would be the analysis of this Nehru report? So, we can add that the Nehru report failed to resolve resolve, failed to resolve the thorny issue, of communal representation. Communal representation. They failed to resolve the thorny issue of communal representation. Is fine. Then second point we can add the report, this report, the report represented a bunch of uneasy compromises, right, a bunch of uneasy compromise. If we can use the word of Shekhar Bandyopadhyay, this report represented a bunch of uneasy compromises and stood on shaky, right, ground, stood on shaky ground, right. Then we can also add that the younger generation of Congress members, younger generation of Congress members were disappointed, younger generation, particularly Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, they were, right. So the younger generation of the Congress members were disappointed with the dominion status, proposed by this report, right. So this report was, right, rejected by the younger nationalist, right. And then we can add, moreover, the report's acceptance of an amendment, right, proposed by Malviya, Madan Mohan Malviya, right, to guarantee, right, all titles, to private and personal, property in raised, right. So this proposal enraged members of Kisan Sabha, So Kisan Sabha also not, you can say, happy with this kind of proposal. So there are many proposals, but at least for your examination you should remember these 2-3 problems, right, of this Nehru report, and therefore it always remained a historical document, right. So what would be your overall conclusion whenever you are suggesting, right, in your modern India about the significance of Nehru report? So we can add that it remains important. Nehru report remains important as a first effort, to draft a constitution to draft a constitution for India, right. So, it remains, you can say, important as a first effort to draft a constitution for India, right, with a complete list of central and provincial subjects, with a complete list of central and provincial subjects, fundamental rights, with a discussion on the future status of princely states, with a discussion on future status of princely states, right. So, it remains an important document, no doubt about it, right. But most of the parties, you will see nationalist, younger nationalist, Muslim League, they were dissatisfied. So, it was a non-starter, right. It could not, you can say, right, you can say it was not implemented, right, and even British, right, they rejected the demand of responsible government. Done. So, Nehru report constitutionally a very important document, but it was not implemented because of some limitation of Nehru report.